if you were the president, you would dialogue with IPOB and not crush them, just as the current president is doing. I'd like to know, what would you dialogue with them? What would be the meeting point with IPOB?
Meeting point would be to tell them that we need a united, strong Nigeria, and that we've been through conflicts since 1914, and that a bigger Nigeria is better for everybody. Being an Igbo man, I don't see how the Biafra can be viable. It's not viable. Given my own experience as a Biafran soldier, I don't think it's viable. So some of these younger guys, like Nnamdi Kanu, who have no history of the war, don't understand. But at the same time, I will also tell him, I understand your concerns. The problem of Nigeria is marginalization, exclusion. Some are chopping, others are not. In fact, most people in Nigeria are not chopping. We have 65 million unemployed youths. Youths from 9 to 15 make up over 2/3 of the Nigerian population. So that's the anger. There's a genuine anger. So as president, I'll recognize it. And then I will try to turn the Nnamdi Kanu IPOB issue into something he recognizes as exclusion and offer him deals that will make him happy to be a Nigerian. That's what I would do.
So you'd rather glorify the person Nnamdi Kanu?
I will not glorify him.
And not
I won't glorify him. I would tell him that he's wrong. But I will say to him, I understand your issues and concerns, but that what you're doing is not the right way to go. And therefore, I will then say to him, what is the real issue? And mark you, Professor Ben Wabeze, who's a senior advocate of Nigeria and my teacher, had already reached a rapprochement with him. And the agreement was, if the deal was right, he was prepared to look at restructuring a better Nigeria and leaving the issue of IPOB.
You don't think Southeast governors should be blamed for some of this?
They ought to be blamed. Absolutely. The Southeast governors, in fact, most Igbo politicians should be blamed. Because what do? Of all the political leaders in Nigeria, the Southeast leaders are the worst. Money is what is their concern. Even under Jonathan, we now accuse Buhari of marginalization. But under Jonathan, the Igbo politicians played a strong role. What did they do? I'm from Onitsha. I was in secondary school in 1972. The road from Onitsha to Enugu is still under construction. And we have several governors who come, and they don't do anything. They look for their pocket. Now there is this issue of, gubernatorial elections in Anambra State. Everybody is fighting. So what Nnamdi Kanu did was to slip into a space left open by Igbo politicians.
Do you support his call for the boycott of Anambra elections?
No, absolutely not. What I support, and what he's not doing right, is his call for whether we want to be in Nigeria or Biafra. That's legitimate. There have been 2 referenda in the last 1 week. I hope you're aware of it. Catalans want to leave Spain, and they voted in the referendum, 90% to leave. The Kurds in Turkey, Iraq also want to leave. So it is a legitimate aspiration. Brexit. The English are leaving the EU. The Scottish want to leave the UK. So there is a legitimate process about wanting to leave. But you must leave according to the Constitution and according to the law. That's where Nnamdi Kanu has got it wrong.
Your articles, your personal, you seem to be such a bright man, and even I'm sure most persons would have, dreamt of you getting into political office. Why haven't you run?
Because it's very difficult. That's why. If Sahara reporters will offer me money and resources and support, then I'll do it. The truth is that it's not difficult, it's not easy. And it's a very good question. I wrote a letter to President Obasanjo to say, look, we're in this big mess. And it's time for us to have a new thinking about how to go. He replied. He said, why are you sitting on the fence? Why don't you come out? So I said, okay, I'd like to meet you. So we met in Lagos. And I told him a story about the Jews in the Bible. that if God did not part the Red Sea, the Jews would have perished in Egypt. So I now challenged him, I said, President Obasanjo, part the Red Sea. Get together all the big politicians in your circle. Part the Red Sea for people like us to cross it. If that happens, I will cross it. But without that, it's not possible. That's the truth. It's not. You need billions and billions to become Nigerian president.
And you don't have this billion.
Well, if you give it to me, I'll be happy to take.
Sir, what are your take on restructuring? I mean, when the issue of restructuring comes up, we have diverse opinions, diverse perspectives. What is yours?
There are challenges. The restructuring debate is now confused. It needs to be clarified. It needs to be understood. We have to understand the obstacles. The southern part of Nigeria understands what it is, but they've not defined it. The northern part are reluctant. I was in the national conference of 2014 and I could see the challenges. The southern part is entrepreneurial. The northern part is not. So obviously they're worried. The oil is on the southern part. So when you hear restructuring, when you hear IPOB, Nnamdi Kanu, there's a thinking that, is it about breaking up Nigeria? So they're reluctant. And I've told my people, some of my elders and colleagues in the southern part, it's not enough to be talking to ourselves. We all know what we want. Go to the north. Ask them, do you understand what this restructuring is all about? What are your challenges? What are your suspicions? So you get them to understand and be on the same page. That hasn't happened. That's why the North does not accept it. That's why the president does not accept it. So we need to, cross that bridge. Second, we also have to be very clear what we mean by restructuring. What does it mean? Is it to have 8 regions? And then we transfer the inefficiencies at the center to the regions. Corruption continues. So restructuring is about doing things differently. So first, for me, I'd like to see strong institutions in place. Strong judiciary, strong police, strong EFCC, not within the control of the executive. Then you curtail and limit the power of governors. So when you restructure, there's going to be a new Nigeria. So it's important we do a number of things first before we get to restructuring. And it's possible. On the other hand, I have no qualms about Nigeria breaking up. When the president and the acting president said Nigeria, the unity of Nigeria is fixed in granite, I don't agree. Why must I be with you? Well, there's no reason. I can't force myself to marry my wife. It's by agreement. So this issue of putting force, Nigeria must be one united country. No, it mustn't be.
You did mention that until southern leaders go over to the north to discuss the issue of restructuring, there might be no headway. Have you ever thought that you should lead that?
I'm not a political leader, for Christ crying out loud. I'm a civil society leader, so there are two different things. Civil society was, at its peak when we confronted a non-democratic government. Right now, the people who have the authority, as it were, to carry these conversations are the sub-national leaders. I'm not an ethnic leader. So Igbos, Ijaws, Ishekiris, all of that. Those are the people who I speak to and say, it is necessary that you carry on this conversation. If I do it, who do I represent? Nobody. I represent just myself. Or the Bar Association where I was president. But Nyanwodo represents the Igbos because he's Ohaneze. So he is the person who has the authority of the ethnic group of Igbos to come to the southwest, discuss with them, and go and meet the Arewa group and this and that and northern elders and discuss. So I don't have a locus to do that.
You led the Civil Liberty Organization and the United Action for Democracy. Both organizations were not registered in Nigeria.
How do you know?
I know.
How do you know?
About civil...
You are wrong.
No. IPOB just came to our studio last week.
I say you are wrong.
She would be wrong.
She's wrong if she said that. I'm the first president of the NBA, or sorry, of the CLO, and it was registered. But case, that's not even the point. Go on.
Yes. In any case, what are your perspective on the new NGO bill?
It's unnecessary. It's unnecessary. I know that there is talk about unaccountability, issues of corruption in the NGO movement, like in any other movement in Nigeria. But we have enough laws in the books. First, we have the Company and Allied Matters Act, under which the CLO was registered. You can prescribe it. You can delete it if we're not accountable. There are laws under the Criminal Code. There are laws under the Economic and Financial Regulations Authority to deal with people who do not behave properly. So to now want to pass a law reminds me of what IBB and Abacha did. So I might be partial on this and sentimental. But from 1985, those presidents, military presidents, had always wanted to proscribe us. So when it arises today, I say, are we going back to those years? It is a completely unnecessary law.
There are legitimate concerns that this bill would help curb terrorism.
How can it help curb terrorism? Is IPOB registered? Is what do you call it? Boko Haram registered? Is 419 people doing Yahoo on what do you call it, on internet? Are they registered? Please, that's absolute bullshit. It's what people say in order to give us a bad name, and we don't accept it.
How would you analyze the fight against corruption by the Buhari-led administration?
It's a good idea. It's good. I think of all the things President Buhari has done, it's the one area that he has shown, I hope, sincerity. But the problem is that he has not organized the strategy properly. And so you find selective justice. They try this man, but not the secretary to the government who stole money. And since he did steal money and he was removed, that's the end. I'm looking to see what will happen between this Mr. Baru and Dr. Kachikwu, which shows a great degree of corruption. So it's like talk, but no action. But at least I commend him for bringing it on the agenda. But I'd like to see a lot more, action, because corruption is a really big cankerworm in Nigeria.
Speaking of Dr. Kachikwu Ibe, how would you analyze his performance in the petroleum industry?
He's been crippled. You can see that there were two Kachikwus. When he was minister and GMD, you could see the buzz in the industry. It was shaking the whole place up. Immediately he was removed and sidelined as minister for petroleum. Changed. And the letter that came out is justifies what I'm saying. You can see a frustrated person who is the chairman of the NNPC and has no clue what's going on. No clue. So Kachikwu right now is unable to perform. Not because he can't, but because he's not allowed to. Then one then says, if that is the case, why are they quarreling about Dezani? Why? What's the difference? The man now, if it is true, because we don't know whether what he said is true, but if true, what is the difference between, what's his name again, Baru?
Yes.
And Dezani? So it's a test case. It's a litmus test case for Buhari. Let's see what he's going to do about this letter.
There have been recall processes on Dino
Melaya,
and we have seen so far how that has had a lot of hiccups, and sometimes he doesn't want to. Currently, he's dodging, being served by INEC.
How do you know that?
I know that.
How do you know?
I mean, it's in the news, so yes.
So say it's in the news, not that you know.
Okay. Yes, it's in the news. So what would you say to this? Is there a legal consequence eventually if he does not get served by INEC?
No, I wouldn't answer the question in the narrow way you have put it. I'll answer it from the accountability process. The problem we have, you and I have, is when it's time to vote, like I'm from Anambra now, we're all excited. We're all giving money. Because they have the money, we don't. All those traders and market sellers, tomato pepper sellers, they'll give them 20 naira. They'll give them close to where, if it's Obiano, you see. Have you not asked yourself the question? When you watch TV and see all these guys organized and carrying banners for PDP, who gives them those things? It's a lot of money. It's a lot of money. So we cast the vote, put them there and go to sleep. We don't call them to account. We don't go on the streets. Nigeria is a country ripe to have 100 million people on the streets to explode things. But we don't. So where I see the Malaya thing is not from the legal consequence issue, but from the power of the people to recall. That's what I like about it. I don't know whether he's entitled to be recalled or not. I haven't followed the story closely. What I like about it is it sends a signal to politicians that if you get voted, you can also get recalled. Very important. That's the lesson. And I do hope the process goes to its logical conclusion. If he wins or does not win, it's not the point. But let those in the National Assembly realize from Saraki down that this thing that happened to this man can happen to me. So I can go to Onitsha, organize people, and say, let us recall our senator. Because we don't know what the senator does for us. I have lived in Lagos for 40 years. I have no clue the name of the chairman of the local government council of Ikoyi. I have no clue. That's terrible. Because he comes, gets voted in, and goes to sleep. He doesn't visit anybody. No issues. The roads are bad. Refuse, beans, nothing. So how can he be my chairman? But why are we all sitting down lukewarm, not generating a process of recall? So that's the lesson I see in the Malaya case.
Recently, you were shortlisted to become a Supreme Court judge. What would you do differently to improve the image of the judiciary if you are picked?
What I would do differently is what a doctor would do to a patient. If you are ill and you have malaria, you want to be cured in one hour. Now, it's no use being a Supreme Court judge and you have malaria and come to me and I take 9 years to cure you. The biggest confidence booster for people to respect the judiciary is speed of justice. Speed of justice. And if I were there, that's what I'll push. That's what I'll push. We are dealing with a concept of justice that we inherited from the British 200 years ago.
And you think that's possible in this country?
What's possible?
Being able to speed up justice.
What's the difficulty? If you come to me with a problem and I listen to you, I can decide on the spot. 9 out of 10 cases, I can decide on the spot. Then maybe some of the complex ones, I can say, okay, come back.
So why all these years has it? Why has it not been?
Because the judiciary is not working. That's the reason. Don't you see what happened in Kenya? Can it happen here? So we need the judiciary to sit up. We need them to give confidence. But the judiciary, like all other organs of government, is not working. Because they're not accountable to anybody. Do they account to you? No. They don't account to anybody. The executive doesn't account to us. The legislators don't account to us. So we run an unaccountable, unlimited government of impunity. What Professor Richard Joseph calls prebendal politics. Which means I sit here and then say, you know what? Why am I a lawyer going to work and killing myself? Let me run for Senate. Let me organize money and get in there. Once I'm in there, I'm made. Because nobody accounts. Who are you to ask me questions, Chinwe, if I'm in the Senate? You may grumble in the newspapers. If grumbling would change Nigeria by the media, all the members of the National Assembly would have run away. But they're there. We ask them, how much do you earn? They said, why should you ask me? They're not accountable to us. So everybody wants to go into government because of the power and the money that it brings. So nobody wants to be a lawyer. Nobody wants to be a doctor. That's the problem.
Thank you very much, Barrister Olisa.